Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Gunnar, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin still lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS.
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back finally. It is that time of the week once again. It is time for some more PSGL PlayStation F2. I am your race commentator, More Games, and here we arrive at Brazil for the season opener of this season 34. Brand new season, brand new game, and hopefully some brand new potential and talent in this F2 grid. Really glad to be back for another season of PSGL, and as you can see, we are getting into the thick of things straight away. Qualifying has started around the circuit, and FVR Jacob is the first man out on track. You can see there are plenty of new names from last season, and also some returnings people from last season as well. So hopefully we have a very diverse grid here, and should provide some even greater racing than we saw last season on the F1 22 game. So yeah, really glad to be back for another season of PSGL. We can see FVR Jacob is currently coming out of the final turn and onto the pit straight of this Brazilian circuit, and he's going to cross the line, and he will be the man who sets the benchmark for the session here, and it is a 107.662 for the FVR man, and that will be the first time of the session. It is now up to the rest of the field to try and beat that time and qualify onto that pole position. The next man across the line is a VIR Skyline, so that's a 107.7. As you can see, current times are in the 107, mid 107 range, as now OP Noose recently transferred from TF10 to Outplayed Racing, and he is now currently on provisional pole position in the Ferrari in PSGL F2. Obviously, we saw him here last season. He's once again in F2. So glad to see him back for another season of a PSGL. We'll try to find another driver who's currently on a lap time. Looks like OP Covers is on a lap. OP, another new signing to Outplayed Racing. Outplayed Racing, over the summer break, they've been signing a lot of new drivers, and some of them are in the lobbies. Obviously, you have OP Noose is new, OP Covers is new, OP Dirk transferred from, I think it was VRT, OP Johan I think that was from As1 Esports. He's now gone to Outplayed Racing. Outplayed Racing, Max van der Geest, he transferred from VRT. So there's a lot of new Outplayed Racing drivers, and a lot of them find themselves on this PSGL F2 grid. So it's great to see them here tonight racing in this qualifying session. And we may as well ride on board with one of them, because Max van der Geest is about to cross the line and it looks like begin a lap time, as that 116.6 definitely isn't representative of his pace. But you can see he's coming through the center S's of turn number 1 and 2, and we'll get to see a full view of this circuit as he heads out of the third turn. You want a nice and tight line through there and into turn number 4, getting up onto that curb, hitting that apex nicely, and then using the white lines as a reference as to where to place your car on the exit to get the best traction possible. Now we head up the hill, double right, followed by another right-hander of turn number 8, and he takes that quite nicely. As now Ennelar Keke has just gone up to P1, a 107.5 for the Mercedes driver, and that is on worn soft compound tires. So Ennelar Keke, quite a lap time from him. I'm sure the NLR guys will be quite happy with that one. But now Max van der Geest is coming through turn number 12 and the last braking zone of this circuit, and he's about to cross the line. We'll see where that places him. He's currently got one teammate in P2. Can he get anywhere near that 107.5 across the line? Now it will be a 107.7, which puts him in the top 11. So the gaps are extremely close at this circuit. A 107.5 currently being the provisional pole time, and going all the way down to P12, there's only 0.3 of a difference between the top 12 drivers in the field. So really glad to see that it is so close. NLR Erpek has just gone to P3 with a 107.556, setting an identical lap time to Outplayed Racing Nuth, as we now see Shizu Bede go to P14 with a 107.8. Now there's only 2 drivers without lap times, and actually I've missed another one of the new Outplayed Racing signings. It's Rayman, who's down in P20. Currently hasn't got a lap time onto the board just yet. He will be aiming to do so now as he heads out of the third turn of this circuit. And thank you all for joining us. I see plenty of people in the chat going away at it. And well, you can give me your prediction for pole position if you would like to do so. Who do you think in this new F2 field is going to try to go for that pole position? I know it's obviously quite hard to call with it being a new grid of drivers, but we know a couple of these guys from the last game were very, very quick. But there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of new guys on this F1-2 field. And currently, Ennelar Keke on that provisional pole position. I mean, he is doing absolutely fantastic so far in the session. And he's really taken a big step up from the F1 22 game. So it's great to see him up there battling for that pole. But we now see Outplayed Racing Rayman coming down the pit straight and getting ready to cross the line. So let's see where he can place his Red Bull in the field. It's a 107.8, which currently puts him in P14. So yeah, it's really not much between the drivers. If you improve, let's say Rayman improved by 1/10 of a second, he'd shoot himself up into the top 10 position. So goes to show that there really isn't much between them all. But now let's see who else is on a lap time. Looks like Outplayed Racing Covers is about to begin his lap as he crosses the line. He's currently P8 right now with a 107.699, which means he is 0.2 off of that provisional pole time set by Ennelar Keke. You can see through turn number 3, he got very close to invalidating his lap time there, but he keeps it within the track limits, which is exactly what you need to do in the qualifying session. But he's actually lost a bit of time in that first sector, about 1/4 of a 10th out of the first sector, so really not much in it. But he now comes into the middle sector. This is where you're going to be gaining or losing the majority of time on your lap. So it is absolutely crucial that you nail this section of the circuit. He comes out of turn number 9, I should say. An uphill traction zone, very easy to lose the rear end, but he does so successfully as he is now about to find out what is his middle sector split. He is 2.5 up on his time, so this could be good enough for provisional pole position. Let's continue to ride on board with Covers as he heads out of turn number 12. VII Dark has just gone up to pole position by 0.2 of a second over Ennelar Keke. Fantastic time there, 107.2. Can Covers beat it? No. He goes to 107.4, which does put him on the provisional front row of the field. So he's gotten quite close to that pole time, but VIR Dyke from absolutely nowhere has just gone to that pole position. I know Dark, seen him in a few races before. He's an absolutely fantastic qualifier. He's got so much pace on the Formula 1 games. Just about whether he can keep it up in the race, but so far he's looking good for that pole position. We'll have to see if the trend stays like that. So NLR Gabriel is coming out of the third turn of the circuit. He's currently in P9, and well, NLR are doing quite well for themselves in this session. They have 3 drivers in the top 9. Well, it's now the top 10 as Outplayed Racing Dirk has proven himself up into P3. Tails also improving on his time. He goes to P5, so the improvements are coming in quite quickly as a lot of drivers moving up into those top 5 positions. But NLR Keke is also on a lap time, and with that 107.5 that he set at the start of the session, he could be in the battle for pole position in this qualifying session. NLR Gabriel, though, through this long left-hander of turn number 11. Is he improving on his time? Yes, he is, and almost by 0.3 of a second. So he's going to continue on with this one. This will improve his position by quite a bit here. Let's see exactly how much he does improve his position as he comes down the pitch straight here. Across the line, it is going to be a 107.4, which puts him onto the provisional front row of the field. Let's see what his NLR teammate Keke can do. Actually, NLR Keke has invalidated his lap time, so he's going to have to come back to the pit lane or recharge his ERS and go for another lap on worn soft compound tires. But yeah, like I was saying with NLR, they've now got 3 drivers in the top 8. 2 of them are in the Williams, so that's very handy for them. They can work together in the Grand Prix. Obviously, having the same pit box, it won't be too much difficulty deciding who is going to box and when. But OP Nuth now is coming out of the 4th turn of the circuit, and he is going to come into the double right-hander up this hill now into the middle sector. He's currently P7, obviously set quite a decent time at the start of the session, but this session has absolutely flown by because there's only 6.5 minutes to go. So obviously, with all this excitement at the top so far, we have been absolutely flying through the session. And now Nuth is going to come out of the middle sector. Is he improving? He is, but only marginally, only by 11 1,000ths of a second. And now Shizu Fede has just gone up to P4 with 107.4. That's a brilliant lap time there from the Shizu man. I think that's VRT Noel, who's just promoted himself into P7. Max Vandergeest has gone to P8, but Nuth quickly displaces him to take that P8 position. And now, let's see if there's anyone else on a lap time. Doesn't look like Erpek is on a lap. He's abandoned this one. FER Jacob, on the other hand, he is coming out of turn number 4. So he will be setting a lap time in the session as he is coming up into the middle sector, I should say. You can see Aston Martin ahead of him, just getting out of the way. Very easy to get caught in traffic at this circuit. In fact, incredibly easy to get caught in traffic since it is only a 1 minute 7 second lap time around this Interlagos circuit. But FER Jacob now out of the middle sector. He's improving by 1.5 tenths. And you can see a little bit of wheel spin there out of turn number 12, which will cost him slightly. But hopefully he should still get a decent time onto the board here. I think he's looking to get himself into the top 10 positions. Let's see if he can do exactly that. Across the line, it's a 107.5, and he gets himself well into the top 10. He gets himself into P7, just behind NLR Keke, who actually has only set 1 lap time in the session, that 107.5. He set that at the very beginning, and that still holds up and has him in P6 currently. So that was a brilliant time that he set at the start of the session. Hopefully, though, he can improve on that lap and get a little bit further up the field. But currently, most drivers are now into the pit lane, and they're waiting for the track evolution to slowly improve those track conditions, get that little bit of extra grip before they go out for their final lap times. But as it stands at the top of the field, VIR Dark has set an absolutely stunning lap time, and he finds himself a 1.5 in front on pole position. Then behind him, we have NLR Gabriel currently on the front row of the field. And NLR Gabriel, I don't remember what competition it actually was, but I remember on the F1 22 game, towards the end, he was really starting to make big strides. I think he was actually in F2 last season. You can obviously tell how terrible my memory is by not remembering, but I do believe he was in F2. And then we have OP Covers in P3. Great to see him up there. Shizu Fede in P4. OP Dirk rounding off that top 5 currently. So Outplayed Racing doing pretty decently for themselves. They have 2 drivers in that top 5, and well, NLR isn't doing too bad either. They have NLR Gabriel and NLR Keke in the top 6 as well. And well, I guess you can probably tell how used to I am to commentating over esports events, as I'm always looking at what teams are placing where, how well are they doing in the qualifying session, and it's always good to see where an esports team really lies and how well they're doing at this early stage of the F1 23 game. Shizu Macho currently in P20. He's gone out first of everyone else, and recently actually his EMM team that NLR Keke actually runs qualified first place in the MOBA Cup, and Shizu Macho was a part of that. So I think that 14 flat is going to fall down now, and he's probably going to get himself up into a very good position here. I know Macho, very quick driver, so let's see if he can do just as he heads into turn number 1 now, hitting his apex quite nicely, and then not actually cutting that second turn as much as he maybe would have liked to, but out of this third turn now, drifting off to the right hand side to prepare himself for the entry of turn number 4. And now Tails has just gotten a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. I'm not sure what's happened there, because no one except for Macho and Gabriel hasn't actually started his lap time. And now Raymond has gotten a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. I think these are some big glitches going on here in the lobby, as that's now 2 drivers who've gotten 5-place grid penalties, and I think it's pretty unfair, although it might not be unfair for that AlphaTauri who's just blocked Shizu Macho there. I don't know who that was. I think that was Lolo. Juventus Racing Lolo has just completely blocked Macho as he went through turn number 10. That's now ruined his lap time. He will improve on that 14 flat, but it probably won't put him in the best positions. That's a big shame for Macho, and I'm sure Lolo will most likely get a post-race penalty for that. Macho across the line, 108.1, and sadly that's only good enough for P20 in the session. So big shame to see that, as now OP Dirk has just gotten a 5-second time penalty for illegal blocking, and the only driver behind him is a Mercedes on an outlap. So if Codemasters wants to explain that one, I'll give them their best go. But yeah, OP Dirk has now gotten a 5-place grid penalty. That's 3 drivers with 5-place grid penalties, and that must be so demoralizing coming into the Grand Prix to get something like that, because you just know you're going to be starting way further down than you should be. Making up positions at this circuit is particularly difficult because of the low ERS recharge rate, so that's a big gut punch there for OP Dirk, Tails and OP Raymond. But they're just going to have to continue on now with the qualifying session as OP Dirk invalidates his lap time there through the double right-hander. But if we look away from that now, the battle for pole position is now on. NLR Gabriel is in P2 with a 107.4, and he's just started his final lap time of the session. He's a 10th and a half away from that pole position time of 107.2 set by VIR Dark, and now he's going to have to try get himself a little bit closer, but through turn number 4, that's a bit of oversteer there on the exit that will lose him snipe at a time. Coming through the middle sector, he's just got to make it up though throughout the rest of the lap time. Heading through turn number 7 now, and let's see what he can do. He's taking these turns quite well, as OP Max Vandergeest has retired on circuit, I do believe. That's his AlphaTauri on the mini-map there, coming down into turn number 4, so I'm not sure if that will be a penalty or not. I think it might be, but we're now seeing the final lap times come through. NLR Keke and OP Dirk weren't able to improve on their times. Meanwhile, the 2 Ferraris of OP Noose and OP Johan have just gone to P4 and P5, both respectively setting a 107.4. Now let's see what NLR Gabriel can do. Can he go a little bit quicker than a 107.4 across the line? Yes, he can. It's a 107.2 for NLR Gabriel. He finds himself on pole position, but VIR Dark coming out of the middle sector of lap time is down, and he's invalidated his lap time. OP Covers also invalidated his time. Shizu Vede goes up to P4 with a 107.4. Tails is in the pit lane. FVR Jacob is finishing up his lap. NLR Erpek though has just gone to the top 3 with a 107.3, and now the 2 Williams NLR drivers find themselves on the front 2 rows of the field. That is a fantastic result for NLR, but it is going to be Enelar Gabriel, I do believe, on pole position for this Brazilian Grand Prix, and a brilliant result from himself to get pole position in the first F2 race on F1 23. That is quite the achievement from the NLR man, and obviously he's going to be absolutely thrilled with a result like that. BII Dark was not able to improve at the end of the session, so a 107.2 will be his final time in this qualifying. Still, a good position though, getting onto the front row of the field in your first race. I'm sure he'll still be happy with just missing out on that pole position. But that will be the end of the qualifying session. Now we will get to take a look at the results here of this qualifying. But I do believe while we are taking a look, I think a new lobby will be set up, because obviously, like I mentioned before, those three 5-place grid penalties were unfairly given to those drivers, so obviously we can't, I don't know if we can continue with that. Pretty sure there is going to be a new lobby, but NLR Gabriel at his home Grand Prix on this game gets pole position with VII Dark right behind him. NLR Urpek on the second row of the field with OP Covers behind him. Shizu Vede and OP Nuth on the third row. OP Johan and Tails on the fourth. FBI Jacob and OP Dirk on the fifth. Keke and Noah on the sixth. Diogo Silva and Max van der Geest on the 7th, Skyline and Zane on the 8th, Rayman and Lolo on the 9th, and on the last row of the grid it's Sem and Macho. And that is going to be the end of this qualifying session. So now a quick word from our sponsors. And that right there was our title sponsor this season, GT Omega. And you can check out the link to their website in the description. And if you use code PSGL at checkout, you will get 5% off your order. But now we do actually have 5 red lights, and you can see drive-through penalty. So yeah, I do believe there is going to be a lobby restart. So everyone is going to retire out of the session. You can see McLaren having a little bit of fun there before he does. But we will get a new lobby up and running, and hopefully that should only take a few moments. I apologize for the delay, obviously. It's very unfortunate, but with a new F1 23 game, still classic F1 bugs. So we will have to wait a little bit of time before the new lobby is set up to get rid of those unfair 5-place grid penalties. But then after that, we will be getting away for the Grand Prix itself. So until then, hopefully, should only be 5 minutes, but until then, we are going to have to take a break. Alright everyone, we are now back at the circuit and we are getting ready for the Grand Prix. The drivers just have to get their setups on, get their race strategies prepared, and then we will be getting ready for the racing action. Thank you to all of you for tuning in tonight. And hopefully, after these delays, we can finally get some racing action. Once again, I do apologize for that, but we will be getting underway very, very shortly. So, at this Brazilian circuit, the strategy is actually quite different to what it was on the F1 22 game. I'm sure you were probably used to hearing on the F1 22 game that it was going to be a hard medium strategy, but on this game you can really just do whatever you like. You can go soft hard, soft medium, hard medium, medium hard. You can really pick and choose what tires you want to use, and it's mainly up to personal preference. Which one do you feel more comfortable on? And that's what the drivers are going to have to ask themselves. So hopefully we see a decent variety in the strategy. But I think one thing that is quite common amongst the strategies is that the drivers will usually start on the harder compounded tire. So if they're doing hard, soft, or hard, medium, they'll start on the hards. And if they're using medium soft, they'll probably start on the mediums. Or if they're doing medium soft. So they usually like to start on the harder, because obviously the harder the compounded tire, the harder it is to heat up coming out of the pit lane. So that's why they usually start on that, so they can skip that warm-up phase. But you can now see we currently have 5 red lights. They are gone and we are away. What kind of start is it for our pole man of NLR Gabriel coming down into turn number 1? It looks like he's got the position secured so far. VII Dirk defending his P2 position. Anyone moving up so far? You can see that's OP Nuth who's gone for a spin. I think he's just been pincered between the two behind him, and not much he really could have done about that. So there's now yellow flags all over the circuit. That is going to be a VSC, I do believe. So there you go. Didn't last more than 3 turns, and the VSC has been released. But it's a shame, that incident there for OP News. Quite unlucky. I think he just got tagged from behind coming out of turn number 2. Excuse me. But you can see the position changes up and down the field. OP Dirk has made big gains on the opening lap. He's moved from P10 all the way to P6 in a matter of just 3 turns as well, obviously, with the VSC being called out so early. So brilliant job from OP Dirk. OP Covers, on the other hand, he's lost a position off the race start, falling from P4 to P5. But the top 3 remain the same. It's still 2 Williams and an Alfa Romeo battling it out for the lead of the Grand Prix at this current stage. But everyone's still nice and close together, and they will be, hopefully, for the safety car restart as well. You can see this virtual safety car still ongoing. Might last for a lap here as we now cross the line, about to begin lap number 2. Tails and also FBR Jacob come into the pit lane for a new front wing, and it's not just them, it's also OP Rayman and VIR Skyline. They've all come into the boxes for a fresh front wing, so they've obviously gotten damage off of that opening lap. We can now see Shizu Fede is looking to the outside line of NLR Urpex through turn number 4. That's a very clean move there from Shizu Fede on the soft compounded tires, really helping him out on this race start. And you can see the tire choices for all the drivers, mainly going with the hard are a lot of the drivers, but NLR Gabriel on the mediums and Lolo and Fede on the soft compound of tires. And I think Rayman also started on the mediums or the softs as he'd come in for the hard compounded tire. Max van der Gies has just made a move on Diogo Silva as they head into turn number 10 now. Max van der Gies is up into P10 now. He's on the back of NLR Keke, who's actually lost a DRS to the top 8. And OP Dirk has lost a DRS to the top 5. So the DRS train already has been broken, and the DRS isn't even enabled yet. So those drivers won't be getting DRS on lap 3. But OP Max van der Gies is trying to go for another move as Diogo Silva loses another position to the next AlphaTauri of Juventus Racing, Lolo. As Lolo actually starts the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on the soft compounded tires. So he's done very nicely for himself on these opening few laps to get himself into P10 now, and he's on the back of Max van der Gies. Hopefully these two AlphaTauri can possibly work together to catch up to the DRS of VRT Nola ahead, as Lolo on the soft compounded tire is able to get past Max van der Gies with the assistance of DRS down that back straight, and one of only 2 DRS straights around this circuit. So crucial that you get your move in either into turn number 4 or turn number 1, because you can see the twisty nature of this middle sector. It's extremely difficult to overtake in a Grand Prix situation. So Lolo, slowly but surely, is now catching up to the top 8, and he's going to try to reconnect the DRS train. Meanwhile, OP Dirk isn't having such success on his efforts of trying to regain the DRS of his teammate, his Outplayed Racing teammate Covers ahead of him, because that gap currently lies at 1.7 seconds. And now because of that, OP Johan is going to make the move on OP Dirk and move himself up into P6 as he makes a move into turn number 1. But VRT Noel is also trying to get in on this action. He has the inside line of OP Dirk, but OP Dirk is fighting back through turn number 2. They're side by side through the center S is Dirk with the outside line for turn number 3, and sadly he does not have the grip to hold it on that line. So VRT Noel completes the move and moves himself up into P7 ahead of OP Dirk. Obviously old teammates, these guys, as Dirk used to be at VRT, but now they are newborn rivals in this PSGL F2. FBR Jacob sets a new fast lap at the Grand Prix on the medium compound of tyre, and he currently finds himself down in P16 at one of 5 drivers who had to make an unscheduled pit stop at the start of the Grand Prix, assumably because of wing damage that they got from incidents at the beginning of the race, and possibly one of the reasons why the BSC was called in the first place. But yeah, sadly a lot of drivers have lost out. FBR Jacob, NLR Keke, BII Skyline, OP Rayman and Tails all having to box early, so a shame to see that happen to them, but they're just going to have to continue on, possibly hope for a full course safety car, and that would help them out quite a bit. But VRT Noel is overtaking OP Johan as they head through turn number 1. VRT Noel in the Alpine is now up into P6, but could OP Johan fight back? Maybe not after that mistake out of turn number 2, almost losing the car, but keeping it just pointing in a straight line and on circuit. And VRT Noel goes defensive into the 4th turn, although not much need, as you can see his red light is flashing. Meanwhile, OP Johan, it's got about 77% ERS, so Johan not worrying one bit at this stage. He's just trying to drive a comfortable Grand Prix as it stands, trying not to get into any incidents, and he's done so successfully as he is currently in P7. We've just seen Lolo try to overtake OP Dirk there, as he is now caught up to this DRS train ahead of him, but OP Max van der Gies wasn't actually able to keep up with his AlphaTauri teammate, so he is not going to have DRS for this pit straight. Meanwhile, Lolo doing very well on the soft combat tire, but how long will this swarm last? Because eventually the softs will begin to die off, and I do believe that happens around lap 8 or 10. We're now seeing OP Johan and VRT Noel switching positions once again. That's the first time this has happened. I think it's going to continue to happen, and hopefully this switching of positions and using the DRS can help them catch up to the top 5, but that 3.1 second gap is quite daunting, as it's going to be a big struggle for them to catch up to the top 5. But meanwhile, the top 5 aren't actually battling too much. Everyone's just staying calm. Shizu Fede on the soft combat tire isn't able to get past VIR Dirk just yet, and NLR Gabriel is holding a somewhat comfortable lead on the medium compound tire, obviously staying in that P1 position as he has for most of the race, so I think he's currently happy enough with that. But Diogo Silva now is coming into turn number 10 on the back of Max van der Gies, and he's just going to hang in there for now. Really, Max van der Gies does not have the pace to catch up to the top 9. So it looks like the main battle is currently for P6 in this Grand Prix, but I think a lot of this is going to come down to strategy, especially because there is such wild field spread in this Grand Prix because of that early VSC. So I think depending on the strategy that you choose, it could heavily influence your finish position in the race. So that's why you've really got to be careful. What lap are you going to box? And, well, I know this decision has already been made, but what tires do you decide to start on? Is the hard compound tire the best to start on? Do you just want to go with the same strategy as everyone else and rely on your pace, or do you want to go a little bit risky like Fede, Lolo and Gabriel's? We're now seeing actually OP Dirk, I've only just noticed, looking to the outside line of VRT Noel, and he's now looking to the inside into this turn number 8 that was a little bit ambitious from OP Dirk. Had no right to room as he was nowhere near alongside to VRT Noel, And he's just spun Noel off of the circuit. Noel trying to reclaim this position from TV87. He does so successfully, but he's now lost that P7 position that he once found himself in. And I do believe that will most likely be a post-race penalty for Outplayed Racing Dirk. So shame to see that VRT Noel was affected by that, but yeah, OP Dirk is most likely going to get a post-race penalty, and I think Lolo is in a similar boat because of the fact that he blocked Shizou Macho in the qualifying session. So we're already seeing a couple of incidents happen so far, nothing too major apart from obviously that lap 1. But I think that was just a bit unfortunate for OP Noose, who got caught up in all of that. I think he was one of the main ones who was affected, but then obviously there are quite a lot who broke front wings. So we could see some, possibly plenty of post-race reports. Hopefully we don't. But continuing on with the racing at hand, we're currently on lap 8 of 36. And everyone just focusing on their race, focusing on setting the fastest lap times possible and not focusing on overtaking one another, because at this stage of the race it wouldn't really help you too much to be making overtakes, unless of course you are on that soft compound tire and you need to try overtake and extend gaps while you have your current pace. But yeah, at the lead of the Grand Prix no one is battling. NLR Urpek is getting a little bit close to Fede as he has a little bit of a look the inside line of turn number 1, but he's not going to commit to that. He's just going to hold behind Shizou Fede, although as I say that, he's using quite a bit of his ERS through turn number 3. Fede anticipates that and uses a bit of ERS of his own. Meanwhile, VII Dark is quite close to the back of Gabriel, and he probably could make a move if he wanted to, but he's just hanging behind, using the DRS to his advantage. If we now see OP Dirk overtaking OP Johan, he's not got a good exit out of turn number 4. Will Johan try to fight back? I don't think he will, as they head up the hill, and OP Dirk now holds this P6 position, but it's 4.8 seconds to the drivers ahead, as that's now a mistake there for Shizou Macho. He's lost at 3 positions, I do believe, to VRT Noel, TV87 and WOR Diogo Silva, so he falls down to P14 because of that, and possibly either a mistake or an incident between himself and another driver. But he's just going to have to hold that P14 for now. He's now at the back of this DRS train, which currently goes all the way up to P10. And actually, OP Max van der Geest beginning to find a little bit of pace as he's caught up to Lolo ahead of him. Meanwhile, Urpek at the front of the field, overtaking for a podium position in this Grand Prix. And he does so successfully, and I think that might be because the soft compound tyres are beginning to experience the tyre degradation, and they don't have as much grip as they once did. By VIR Dark quite close to the back of NLR Gabriel once again, but he's just hanging behind, letting go of the throttle as they head into the turns as to not overtake. We're now seeing actually a lot of moves. OP Johan has just completed a move on OP Dirk as they switch positions once again. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, it's VRT Noel overtaking Shizou Zane to get himself into the top 10 positions. Good job from Noel. He is now in the point scoring positions, but yeah, Max van der Geest is now in this 4-man DRS train, this 4-man battle for P6 in the Grand Prix. He gets a bit of wheel spin there out of turn number 9, and you see how close everyone is. It's front nose to gearbox for all 4 of them, as OP Dirk was almost pushing Johan through the turns, and he's now most likely going to re-overtake as NLR Urpek is trying very hard to get into P2 in this Grand Prix. His teammate giving him the slipstream down the pit straight. He's going to have the inside line for turn number 1. Can he brake later? Then BAI Dark, who's gone very deep into that first turn. Almost contact between the two of them, but NLR Urpek making 2 positions in 2 laps. Brilliant job from the NLR Williams man, but can VIR Dark battle back coming into turn number 4? Does not have a look to the inside, and now it's an NLR Williams 1-2 in the Grand Prix. Who would have expected this coming into the first round of the season? I'm sure all of the NLR guys watching are having quite a nice time right now, as Gabriel and Urpek doing their teams proud currently, and hopefully they can keep this up now as they continue to battle it out at the front of the field. But wow, what a result so far. A 1-2 for Williams, a 1-2 for NLR, but it's only lap 11 of 36. That means they have a long time to go before they can solidify this result plenty of battling yet to happen. And obviously Gabriel is on those medium compounded tires, so he's going to either have to stretch out these mediums and go to the softs, or he's going to have to struggle on the hards towards the end of the Grand Prix. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him, though, as now Johan still leading this 4-man DRS train for P6. He's doing a good job in that position, keeping Dirk at bay, as these guys have switched positions quite a few times. As now the battle for P10 also continues. VRT Noel is still trying to get into that P10 position, into those points positions. He actually has a time penalty at this stage. He's done a good job to recover at quite a few positions, but now Shizu Zane is going to get past him once again up into P10. And now VRT Noel might lose another position to another Shizu man. Macho goes the inside line of turn number 4, squeezing Noel slightly off of the circuit there, and Noel had to really go off because of that raised curb on the exit of turn number 4. So he's lost 2 positions now, as Macho make a little bit of mistake there through turn number 7, or 8 I should say, and that's now OP Raymond. And no, it's not a DNF on circuit. He's come into the pit lane and retired from the sessions. That is our first DNF of this race. We'll have to see if there are any more. Hopefully not. But yeah, obviously OP Rayman a bit demoralized after that race start. Wasn't too happy with how it ended. And he's decided to end his first Grand Prix of the season early. But you can see OP Johan once again switching positions with OP Dirk, but it might not just be those two, because OP Max van der Geest had a look to the outside of Dirk. These guys were teammates in VRT, now they're teammates in Outplayed Racing, and they're battling for P7 in this Grand Prix. You can see Outplayed Racing go all the way from P4 to P8, and that's the ghost car of OP Raymond, as we now see OP Dirk the outside line of turn number 4. Was that the correct decision though, because now Max van der Geest is all over his inside. Thankfully, though, for Dirk, does not have the traction to capitalize on that error from OP Dirk. And so Max van der Geest has to hold P8 for now. But it's getting quite heated here in the battle for P6. All 3 of these Outplayed Racing drivers have the possibility of taking that P6 position at any moment, and they are really trying their best to do so. But this is still the first stint of the Grand Prix. They are still they still have one more compound of tyre to go on to, presumably either the mediums or the hards, before they can really solidify their positions on lap 36 of 36. But they're still battling hard for this on-track position, as it could be crucial later on in the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, the soft runners are doing quite well, as you now see OP Dirk into turn number 1. He's gone quite deep and actually making a bit of contact there with OP Johan, and both of them getting bad exits out of turn number 3. Let's see what happens now as we head down this back straight. It's OP Dirk and Max van der Geest with the DRS. Max van der Geest looks to the inside line. He tries to overtake OP Johan, and he does so successfully. And now Lolo is even trying to get past Johan. Can't do so successfully, but absolutely crucial. Johan falls from P6 to P8, and now he's stuck in a bit of a no man's land, that DRS train, because the guy behind him has DRS and the guy in front of him has DRS, so it's going to be hard to overtake, and he's also got to defend from behind. Meanwhile, Max van der Geest, the driver ahead of him, OP Dirk, doesn't have DRS, so he's in a decent position now. Absolutely crucial that Max van der Geest got that move done. And it's now going to be him and Dirk battling for P6 for the next couple of laps before they eventually have to come into the pit lane and box for fresher tyres. But let's see how they do now as they head out of turn number 12. The battle for the lead is also quite nice. You can see Urpek and Gabriel doing very well beside one another in P1 and P2, holding that 1-2 for Williams and NLR, and doing a brilliant job at doing so. Now OP Dirk still battling away with Max van der Geest as Urpek and Gabriel switching positions. I'm sure they're probably working together at this stage, since they're not only Williams teammates, they're also NLR teammates. But OP Johan is trying to fight back as he gets squeezed on that apex by OP Max van der Geest, almost losing the car. Thankfully, OP Johan has just kept his car on circuit, but he now knows that Max van der Geest is driving with a level of aggression. But that's a big rear lock up there for the AlphaTauri, almost completely losing the car and going onto the grass, but somehow manages to save that, and he stays in that P7 for now, but possibly a sign that he might be vulnerable and that OP Johan could launch an attack soon enough. But you know, obviously it wouldn't be too good to see an incident between these three guys. They're pretty new OP teammates, so they don't want to be having any incidents with each other in their new partnership. But you see the first man into the pit lane is Shizou Fede on the soft component tires, and Juventus Racing Lolo has decided to go onto a similar strategy. So both of these guys are going from the softs to the mediums. So they're going for an ultra soft strategy, using the 2 softest compound tires you can possibly use, and going for a one stop strategy. So it's an aggressive strategy from these guys, and we'll have to see if it works out for them. But currently they did have decent pace on those softs. I mean, they made up positions, and then they were able to hold on to the DRS of the guys around them. So I think it did work out pretty nicely for them, and now they have the mediums all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. So hopefully that extra bit of grip can help them. We're about to find out if it can help Lolo, as his mediums are probably pretty cold right now. So he's got to get a little bit of a temperature into them before he could think about battling Keke ahead. But Keke is on 13 lap old medium compound tires, so he is going to have significantly less grip, and you can see it visibly as he heads through turn number 8. A bit of a rear lock up there for NLR Keke, and now could be vulnerable to Lolo, who's not going to make the move in the middle sector. Probably wouldn't be the wisest decision, to be fair to him. So he's going to wait for this pit straight now before making his move. Meanwhile, further up the field, OP Max van der Geest are still battling away. VRT Null is trying to get back past Shizou Macho, and he does so, gets himself up into P9, and he's still battling with Shizou Zane, who's not too far up ahead. So let's see VRT Null on the run into turn number 4. He's got 0% ERS even with the overtake on. So into turn number 4, he has a look at the inside line, but Shizou Zane claims the turn and defends that P8 position. You can see there are plenty of battles on circuit. There's this battle for a net P10. There's a battle between Dirk and Van der Geest, and now there's even a battle between Lolo and Keke. Lolo was successfully able to get past NLR Keke and move himself up into P15. Good job from him now, as he has got to really use these mediums to his advantage, get the most out of the clean air that he currently has in front of him, so that he can gain the most possible time on the likes of Dirk, Johan and Max van der Geest. But we are now seeing the first hard runner come into the pit lane. It's VIR Dirk, who's pulled the trigger. He's decided he's actually coming in earlier than the medium runner of NLR Gabriel. So, excuse me, a big surprise there from VIR Dirk. And NLR Gabriel is really just hanging on to those mediums for as long as he can. But I do believe on this game, the undercut strategy seems to be the superior strategy. It usually gains you quite a bit of time. We'll have to see if that is a consistent theme on this F1 23 game. Although it might not be, because it looks like Lolo is going to come out quite a while ahead of OPO, and you can see that's actually a massive gap that Lolo has now gotten on Johan, and that is because of the undercut. 2 laps of an undercut, and that's how much time he has gained. About 3.5 seconds he's gained on OPO, and not only that, OPO is now going to be caught in the traffic of Jacob and Keke. So brilliant timing there for Lolo, and he's now 4.6 seconds away from a VIR Dark. So this worked out perfectly for him. He will have more worn tires, but I mean, that 3.5 second gap to OPO, and it's got to be worth it for an extra lap of wear. So he's looking pretty good in this Grand Prix so far. And obviously Shizou Fede, who also went for the undercut strategy, he's now 3.5 seconds ahead of VIR Dirk. So that undercut has worked an absolute treat, going from the softs to the mediums. Perfect strategy for those guys. They've obviously done a lot of race simulations around this Brazilian circuit to know that the soft medium is one of the faster strategies. TV8 Sem is now into the pit lane, and I actually do fear now how this is going to end for NLR Urpek and NLR Gabriel. I do think, I don't think they'd stay out on these hards, and obviously the mediums for Gabriel to go for the overcut, and then obviously Urpek go on to the mediums. I don't think that would be the right decision, because you're losing a bunch of time and then you're not even getting that much pressure tires. So Gabriel and Urpek are extending now their stints to try and go on to the soft compound of tire for the end of the Grand Prix. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Gabriel, but from what we saw from the soft runners before, it shouldn't be too difficult. I think the mediums go 20 laps, and then the softs go Or actually, no, the mediums are going to have to go a little bit more than 20 laps probably, because, or maybe not. I think the softs did actually go around 16 laps or 15 laps or somewhere around that for the soft runners. So it's working out quite nicely for them. And now OP Newt has just been overtaken by Shizu Beda on the medium compounded tires, making up positions. He's getting closer and closer to the lead. VIR Dirk, though, is on an absolute charge. He's just at the fastest lap of the race. And it's absolutely lovely to see VIR Dirk on this kind of form. I mean, on the F122 game, I did commentate on him quite a bit, and it did seem to be that he had the pace to compete with some of the top guys on the PlayStation platform, but he didn't have the consistency in the Grand Prix to back it up. But for this video game, though, it's been good for him because he's now got the consistency, he's got the pace, and he's got an opportunity to not only battle for a podium, but a Grand Prix win. So it's really great to see VIR Dirk making big gains on this F123 game from F122. And you can see a lot of drivers in this grid have taken big strides to get into F2. And then obviously there are some drivers who were in F2 last season who have fallen down a little bit. So yeah, definitely a mix between guys who are improving and guys who are struggling to find that improvement on this new F123 game. Maybe still just trying to get acclimatized to it. But Veda has now just made the move on Macho, and we've seen Erpek and Covers come into the pit lane. VIR Dark has just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix once again. It's a 109.7. He's the fastest man out on circuit. He's got the best opportunity to possibly win this Grand Prix, but he's still all over 2 seconds behind Shizu Veda. He's been setting fastest lap after fastest lap, and a 2-lap undercut might lose him an opportunity to win this Grand Prix to Shizu Veda. But possibly as the mediums are on the car for a longer amount of time, then that tire wear is going to slowly, that difference in tire grip is going to extend itself. But we'll have to see if that is true, as Shizu Beda has now made the move on his Shizu teammate and Aston Martin teammate Shizu Zane to get himself up into P4 now, and he's almost actually caught up to NLR Gabriel. Is only now about 12 seconds up the road, so this is a massive undercut that Shizu Beda has had on the rest of the field, and I think because he's boxed just a couple of laps earlier, that might be the difference between winning and losing this Grand Prix. But VIR Dirk is now only a couple of tenths behind, not seconds, it's tenths now, as VIR Dirk gets past Shizu Macho. He is flying at this stage. This could be his first win of the season in the opening round, but we'll have to wait and see on that, as he's now on the back of Shizu Zane, who I assume is going to try to hold him up a little bit so that his Aston Martin teammate can get away. But through this middle sector now on the hard compounded tire, he's going to have a significant disadvantage on grip. And let's see what VIR Dark does. He has a look to the inside, and then he actually fakes it to go to the outside, but Shizu Zane goes in deep and covers the next line. You can see he really is holding up VIR Dark, but Shizu Beda is being held up himself because he's got Max van der Geest and OP Dirk who are yet to come into the pit lane. NLR Gabriel boxed recently. He's onto the soft compounded tire, and surprisingly NLR Erpek on the mediums. So a big surprise there. I'd assume that he would have gone onto the softs knowing that it was possible, but VIR Dark is on the back of Shizu Zane. He's got the DRS, he's got the slipstream, and Zane pulls into the pit lane. So now VIR Dark and Shizu Beda are the two drivers who are who have got 0 stops to make, and the two drivers at the front of the field. Obviously Max van der Geest and OP Dirk yet to box in this race, and they're putting up a little bit of a battle with Shizu Beda as they head down into turn number 4. And Beda gets past OP Max van der Geest, and that allows Dirk to try and go for a move into turn number 4. And you can see Max van der Geest getting slightly tapped off of the circuit there, has to go a little bit wide. And these two OP guys just battling it out pretty much this entire Grand Prix. Now VIR Dirk onto the back of these guys, and he will have the DRS for the next straight. So Shizu Beda and VIR Dirk, you wouldn't have expected it, but now these are the two guys battling for the lead of the Grand Prix. Will that be for the rest of the race though? Because NLR Gabriel, he's on the soft compounded tires. He's one of the only drivers on the softs. The only other man is down in P16s, Shizu Macho, in the back of that DRS stream for P12 in the race. So NLR Gabriel, it is now his time. He has got to be the man on the charge. He has got to be setting fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, make the overtakes, use his racecraft and awareness, and get up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Will it be possible though? Only time will tell. VII Dark has made the move now on OP Max Van der Geest. NLR Gabriel sets the pass up the Grand Prix. VII Skyline has come into the pit lane and retired from the session. Sadly, it's not been a great day at the other side of the Alfa Romeo garage, but for VII Dark, it's going quite pleasantly so far. But NLR Gabriel, he's gained about a second there in the previous lap, so he's got a great opportunity to now take the lead of this Grand Prix. Well, a little bit later on, obviously, he's 2 seconds behind Max Van der Geest. He's going to continue to gain. He's pulling NLR Urpec with him, so there's still a chance of a William NLR 1-2 in this race, and that would be quite the way to start off a PSGL season for NLR. Let's see if they can, though. As you can see, NLR Gabriel, the gap was 2 seconds at the start of this lap. It is now 7 tenths, and the lap isn't even over. He couldn't make the move in this very lap. So we'll have to see. 2 seconds behind at the start of the lap. Now he might make the move at the end of it. Let's see. With the slipstream, DRS is about to be enabled, but OP Max Van der Geest comes into the pit lane, as those 23 lap hards are not doing him any good at this stage. And we'll see where he comes out to OP Dirk. You have to assume he's going to come out quite a bit behind, and that's not good because OP Dirk is currently leading a DRS train, although he is trying to pull away at this stage. Lolo and Johan are still battling with each other as they were earlier on. Obviously, Max Van der Geest and Dirk were involved in this battle before the pit stops. Not anymore, though. But let's see. These guys are still battling for P6. VRT Noel has recovered very well. He was in that battle for P7. He's almost back into it. 4 seconds behind. But he has got a time penalty, so he's got to make sure that he keeps a sufficient gap to OP Dirk behind. OP Max Van der Geest has now come out in P12. Meanwhile, Dirk is in P9. And Van der Geest, he's gone on to the medium compound tire. And I must say, that is a strategy blunder from Max Van der Geest, and he's going to have way less grip than he could have on the softs. So just maybe a lapse in judgment, or possibly just forgot to equip the soft compound tire before coming into the pit lane. Whatever it is, he has now pretty much lost the battle between himself and OP Dirk, because there's pretty much no chance of him catching up to the McLaren driver. We've now just seen a move to lead the Grand Prix. Sadly missed that, but it's now VII Dirk who has made a move with the power of DRS down the pit straight. He's into the lead of this race, but Gabriel is right behind him. Once again, the top 5 are back into a top 5 DRS train, and every one of them has a chance to win this race. Gabriel on the softs, Urpec and Covers have fresher tires than the top 2, so it's up to the top 2 to now put on their best defensive display to hold these 2 positions, because it is going to be extremely difficult. They've got the 2 Williams drivers behind. They've got the 2 teammates behind. The 2 NLR guys, they're going to be pushing and working together to try and get this 1-2 for one another, and I think it could be possible, but they've got to be precise here. They've got to be consistent, and most importantly, they have got to have the racecraft to make the moves on the top 2 drivers. So let's see if Gabriel can do it. And you can see the type of exit that he's got out of turn number 12. It is absolutely magnificent. He's going to make the move. He was about 3 tenths back at the beginning of the straight, and now he's made the move into the top 2 positions. NLR Gabriel on the soft compound tire. He's got a chance of taking lead this Grand Prix. He might do it straight away. A double move on lap 27 of 36. He is now into the lead of the Grand Prix in a matter of seconds. Urpec is trying to follow through as he goes down the inside of Fede into turn number 4. He is into the top 3 positions, and now once again Gabriel, Dark and Urpec, this is exactly how they were at the start of the Grand Prix. This is exactly how they are at the end of the Grand Prix. But will it stay that way? OP Covers just sent one there into turn number 8 on Shizu Fede. Brilliant move from him to get himself into top 4. And now the top 5 as they were after lap 1 of the Grand Prix. FBR Jacob is just at the fast lap of the Grand Prix on his fresh soft compound tires, but being down in P17 means he won't get the fastest lap point. So the battle for the top 5 continues. NLR Gabriel has just broken the DRS to VII Dark, which has left him completely vulnerable not only to Urpec but to Covers too, and he's lost 2 positions because of that. NLR Gabriel is flying in this Grand Prix. This is unprecedented from the Williams man. I did not expect this whatsoever. It's an NLR 1-2. This is some classic racing action here in F2. You never know what to expect in this division, and Williams looks like the team to beat as Gabriel and Urbeck lead this Grand Prix. Now all they've got to do is defend from covers Dark and Fede behind him. Fede's even struggling to keep up with the top 4 with his 12-lap old medium compound tires, so maybe the undercut not working out as well as I originally thought. As now Enela Keke sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on his fresh soft compound tires, and Fede on 12-lap old mediums. The tire wear is affecting him quite heavily as he slides through that 9th turn there, as he is now well and truly lost the DRS to a BIR Dark ahead of him. But yeah, OP Covers is now into the podium positions. He's going to try to gun for that P2 position, but will he be able to do it? Gabriel, or Urbeck I should say, has the support of his teammate Gabriel ahead of him. But Gabriel actually has to hold on to these soft compound tires for the next 8 laps. So I think everything that I thought about the strategy has been completely thrown out of the window. I thought the softs would have been the best choice, but maybe the mediums will become the end of the Grand Prix. OP covers a brilliant exit out of the 3rd turn. Wasn't able to capitalize those. Urbeck holds the P2 position ahead of covers. But it is getting quite close between these guys. I've got 7 laps of racing to go, and 14 more DRS straights, 14 more opportunities to make moves, and that means for the top 2 there's a lot of defending to be done. And it's going to be interesting to see, will Gabriel's tires fall off? Is he going to lose the position that he currently has in the lead of the Grand Prix? Or can he hold on for the rest of the race? Whatever happens, I know that we will have an exciting end to this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we now have a battle for P8 in the field. OP Dirk and OP Max van der Gies reunited at once again. They've been battling for all 29 laps of this Grand Prix. These guys just cannot separate themselves from one another, and now they're in a battle for P8. But obviously VIT Null has 6 seconds of time penalty. Surprisingly, he is the only man in the field to have a time penalty for extending the track limits. That is quite rare, but obviously a lot of these guys have been tightening up their track limit extensions, as now OP Dirk sends it into turn number 1, goes deep. This gives him the outside line for turn number 3. Was that the right decision? He's now got to use quite a bit of ERS. Does he have the DRS? No, he doesn't. Does VRT Null have the DRS? Yes, he does. VRT Null somehow gets the DRS, as he obviously was behind at the detection point. He's now squeezed OP Dirk off of the circuit, and you know what that means. OP Max van der Gies is taking advantage of the situation. You can see it's contact there between the 2 drivers, and I'm not sure what Max van der Gies was going for. He had a look to the outside line, but obviously VRT Null wasn't expecting that whatsoever. Just turns across some incident between the 2 drivers. At VRT Null, once again, it's not the first time it's happened. The second time he's been caught up in an incident, and he is now out. Well, not out, sorry. Shouldn't be so quick to conclusions there. He's not out of the Grand Prix. He's just down into P10. He's out of the points paying positions is what he's out of because of his 6 seconds worth of time penalties. So yeah, shame. VRT Null has been hit with all the penalties. He's been hit with all the F1 cards and all the incidents, and now he is not looking too good in this Grand Prix. And he's also just been caught out on the safety car restart. Comes into the pit lane, and I think we know what to expect. Either he might actually come in for a front wing. I thought he might retire because obviously with 2 incidents, 6 seconds of time penalties, most drivers would. But VRT Null, he has a determination to continue on, go for a fastest lap in this Grand Prix, and let's see if he can do it. So yeah, sorry for assuming he was going to retire. Obviously we've already had 3 people come into the pit lane and retire from the session because of breaking their front wings, because of being caught up in incidents like that. But VRT Null, he's not like that. He is going to continue on with this race. He's going to try to get the most from it. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Enela Gabriel has actually almost broken the DRS to his teammate. Could this be a strategy here from the NLR team? Is Urbeck going to try to hold up OP Covers behind? I don't think he will. That would be quite a risky strategy to go for, as he's got the straight line speed to stay ahead of OP Covers for now. But he gets really close to his teammate coming into turn number 1. Obviously the gap was 1 second out of turn number 12, and he almost overtook him into the first turn, going to show how incredibly powerful the DRS is. But now OP Covers is looking to make the move on NLR Airpack. This could be big in the story of this Grand Prix. Gabriel pulls the inside line in an attempt to stop OP Covers from going deep. He does so successfully. These two really trying to work together to hold this 1-2, but OP Covers isn't giving up. He's got 0% ERS, but he squeezed Erpek off the circuit and wasn't able to make the move, but he sends one into turn number 8 here, and he might actually get this move done on NLR Erpek. He's got the inside line for turn number 9, but now it's going to be the inside for Covers as Erpek gives him a squeeze of his own heading out of turn number 9 there, and paying him back the favour there that he gave at turn number 4. VIR Dirk has made a mistake out of turn number 10. He spun the car and fallen from P4 to P5. Thankfully, the gap between the top 5 and the rest of the field is quite large, so he's not going to lose any more than that, but he has lost the P4 position to Shizu Fede, so good for Fede to get himself into the top 4, but unfortunate for Dirk after that incident there. OP Dirk and, or not Dirk, Dark I should say. OP Dirk and Max van der Geest, though. Max van der Geest has either just been hit there by Dirk or he's spun the car in the exit of turn number 12. Sadly was not able to actually catch that. Nevertheless, he's now just lost plenty of positions. He falls behind Zane and Macho. He pulls into pit lane and actually retires from the session. So OP Max van der Geest after his 32 lap long battle with OP Dirk. Now OP Dirk left to himself, and sadly he's just going to have to continue on by himself in some clean air on the soft composite tires. But unfortunate way for Max van der Geest to end his race. Makes Dirk's life a lot easier though, and obviously Shane and Macho are now, instead of battling for P10, they're battling for P9 in the Grand Prix. But Macho on those 10 lap old soft compound tires, he's obviously struggling for grip relative to Zane. Those mediums are holding up a lot better than the red walled softs, and speaking of the mediums holding up better, I'm surprised that Gabriel is still holding the lead. He's doing a brilliant job in that P1 position. We are about to enter lap 34 of 36. There are 3 laps of racing to go, including this one. And how is this top 3 going to play out? OP Covers is going to try to save up a little bit of ERS here so we can attack on the final few laps. And I mean, this teamwork between Gabriel and Erpek, not only have they had the pace, not only have they had the right strategy, not only have they had the right racecraft and awareness, they've also put that together and put it between them to work together for this 1-2, and it could come true for them in the first round of this season 34 PSGL PlayStation F2. What a dream come true that would be for the NLR team, and really show that they are a top team on this PlayStation. They are consistent, they are fast, and they are proving it here in F2. Can they continue to prove it though as they head through turn number 12? And NLR Erpek is still ahead of OP Covers, but how is OP Covers going to play this? We're about to enter the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. He is not going to have many opportunities to overtake the 2 ahead of him, and he's got to decide when he wants to go for this move, if he's going to be able to go for this move through turn number 1 and 2. He's got a decent exit out of there, but actually NLR Erpek has also gotten a good exit out of that 3rd turn, so I don't think he's going to make a move into turn number 4. So OP Covers, he's leaving it. He's leaving it for the final lap of this Grand Prix. That's when he's going to try to make the move. Meanwhile, the battle for P9 continues as OP News has just gotten past Shizu Macho and promoted himself up into the top 10 positions, and that will be a point for OP News, and Shizu Zane will also be getting himself a point. OP Dirk, Lolo and Johan still battling it out for P6 in the race. VI Dirk in P5, Shizu Fede in P4, and these are the only 3 other points positions, and that is the top 3, the podium positions. And to get a podium in PSF2 in the first season on the brand new game, season 34, it's quite the achievement. So let's see if Covers can now improve it from a P3 to a P2. He is using all of his ERS down this back straight, but it looks like the top two are actually going to try to switch positions, and now OP Covers is going to send one to the inside line into turn number 1. NLR Gabriel attempts to defend the position. He's been squeezed off of the circuit. It's contact between the two of them as Gabriel cut the second turn, hit into the side of OP Covers. He's now lost that position to Covers, and it doesn't look like this 1-2 will come true. There's still time though. He has got a bit of ERS to play with, so he's going to have to be close enough to OP Covers to overtake on the pit straight. But that was a decent, well, by decent I mean quite big between the two of them. Lolo has now actually overtaken Johan to promote himself into the top 6, and it's all going off now on this final lap, lap 36 of 36, coming through the middle sector. Enela Erpek is on his way to win this Grand Prix, but OP Covers and Gabriel are still close in the battle for P2 through turn number 11. Gabriel's not close enough, and OP Covers is going to have the power of DRS, so it looks like NLR, they will not get the 1-2, but they will get a double podium in this Grand Prix. Erpek, who decided to go on to the mediums for the end of Grand Prix, it was the right strategy. He's had the pace, and he's now going to come across the line to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Williams and NLR take the first victory in this season 34 of PSGL PlayStation F2. OP Covers takes P2 for Haas, and Gabriel makes it a double NLR podium as he finishes just 76 1,000ths behind OP Covers. Shizu Feta in P4, Dark in P5, Johan finishing 84 1,000ths behind Lolo, but Lolo was able to hold on to that top 6 position. OP Dirk finishing P8, OP News in P9, and he actually got ahead of Shizu Zane. So Shizu Zane goes down to P10, and then it's Macho, Diogo Silva, Sem, Noel, Keke, and Jacob in the final 16 positions. And then Max van der Geest, Tails, Skyline, and Rayman all retiring from the session. And that is the end of this Brazilian Grand Prix now as Jacob crosses the line. But what an end to this Brazilian Grand Prix. And it's NLR who come out on top, Williams and Erpek who are in P1. Brilliant race all around throughout the field. There were plenty of battles, not only for the lead of the Grand Prix, but we saw one between Dirk and Max van der Geest, one between Lolo and Johan, and obviously between News, Zane, and Macho. So there were plenty of talking points that we can now go over after this Brazilian Grand Prix, but the main one is a victory for NLR in the form of Erpek. He takes the win, and now he gets the sweet, sweet taste of champagne on the top step of the podium. And I'd just like to thank you all for tuning in, all 73 of you that are still currently here, and all 1,000 of you that actually tuned in over the course of the stream. So thank you all for joining me. But let's now look at the final results. So Erpek is going to be the lead in the championship after this win here in Brazil. OP Covers and Gabriel, though, they look like the two main rivals that could possibly battle. With Erpek, VIA Dark was up there at a point, and then he sadly had that spin, so looks like all of the consistency issues haven't been ironed out, but it's definitely massive improvement, so congratulations to him. It's getting that P5, and then it's also quite close in the midfield, so it looks like we're on for an exciting season in this season. Actually, one thing to touch upon is Lolo started P18. I didn't actually remember that. He started P18. He used a soft compounded tire at the start of the race, made up so many positions, and now he got himself up to the top 6. So that was a brilliant race for him, gaining 12 positions throughout the race. But if I had to give one driver here, driver of the day, I mean, this is a super tough decision, I must say, but I mean, actually, it's really, really tough. I actually have no idea who to give driver of the day to. I think, I mean, it's probably going to have to be our race winner. I mean, it has to be one of those guys in the top 3. I would have given it to NLR Gabriel, but those soft compound tires, they just weren't the right choice. If he had gone onto the mediums like Erpek, he obviously, well, not obviously, but he might have won that Grand Prix. So I think I have to give it to Erpek. He made the right strategy call. He just hung in behind. He wasn't too aggressive throughout the race, but he made moves when they needed to be made, and that ended up giving him the win in this Grand Prix in a hard-fought battle between the top 3. So congratulations to NLR Erpek. He gets my driver of the day and the win in this Brazilian Grand Prix. But I do hope you all enjoyed this race, and this is just a taste of the action that is yet to come in the upcoming season 34 of a PSGL. It's been a fantastic race to commentate over, and well, I won't be the only one here in the commentary box next week. Evan Dalton will be with me next week, so we'll have a double Irish commentary team for the rest of the season, which looking forward to. But I hope you all enjoyed this Grand Prix. I have been your race commentator, More Games, and until next week, it's goodbye from me.
He's got the inside, all here is through on the left hand side, hugs the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium once again. The ghost is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a